I'm Erich Eickmeyer. I am the project leader for Ubuntu Studio. I'm going to take this off because I know the rustling will probably mess with the microphone and the recording. I just want to demonstrate basically a workflow, and maybe you guys can give me some input on how that works with PipeWire and how that can integrate with live audio production and Ardour and Mixbus. Mixbus is derived from Ardour. It is actually closed source, but not entirely closed source because it derives from Ardour, and they actually use that as a base, and I actually feed back into Ardour and fund the project. It's Robin Garris, who did the previous. He did a workshop, or not a workshop, but a talk yesterday on things you didn't know you could do with Ardour. This will actually dovetail a little bit off of that talk that he did yesterday. So if you didn't see his presentation, this will actually be more of a practical usage of what he talked about. And so I just wanted to get started today with telling you a little bit about my audio background. I've been doing live audio production for the past nearly 30 years now. And in that time, most of that has been for churches in the United States. And I currently am employed by a church in the Pacific Northwest area of the United States, where I do, I'm getting Telegram notifications. I should probably turn those off. I'm one of the Telegram moderators for the Telegram channel for the summit. I do the live broadcast audio every other week for this church. And I also help them out every now and then with just as needed on-call basis. Prior to that, I was with another church, also in the Pacific Northwest Seattle area, where I was their production lead for their West Seattle campus, and where I did basically all of their audio and video production there. But during their Sunday services, I was doing their live audio production specifically. But where this kind of thing comes in, what I'm going to demonstrate today, is basically how do we take the technologies that we have in open source and Linux, and how do we use those for live audio production in any environment. So regardless of the content that I would share today, as that, I want you to just kind of how would you take that and apply it to whatever live production environment you have, regardless of your religious beliefs or what have you. Because the thing is, which is where I happen to work in, you can still take anything that I'm using and apply it in your workflow. So what I have here, this is Ubuntu Studio 23.10, and this is running on a Ubuntu Focus XE computer, the first generation. I've got my battery. I'm running off of battery, unfortunately. I appear to have forgotten to bring my power adapter. So luckily, this is only an hour-and-a-half workshop. I have 3 hours of battery and I'm completely running on performance mode. So this is going to be very interesting, especially as we wrap up the DSP to see how long this will run. I am using here in my arsenal 2 PreSonus 3.5-inch studio monitors, a Behringer X Touch and a Behringer X Touch Mini. And the Behringer X Touch is going to be running in a Mackie control mode, and the X Touch Mini will be a dumb MIDI controller. And we'll be assigning that as needed as we go. So the first thing I want to show you is that, first of all, PipeWire is currently running in a jack compatibility mode, as it were. I've heard Philippe, who's here today, he has mentioned that PipeWire is essentially the new jack. Can I quote you on that? He calls it Jack 3. So let's just call it that. If still in heavy development, they are ramping up to a 1.0 release. Should be probably within the next couple of months, I would assume. That's kind of where they're at. And so we're looking at that probably hitting us within probably by the next LTS of Ubuntu. So really, I was noticing there's a few things in Ubuntu Studio that I have to bug fix because they changed how they implement um, the configuration for the PipeWire Quantum. And it used to be just a system variable. You'd log out, log back in, and it would be fine. But now there's a PipeWire meta that you have to set, and that changes it on the fly, which is really nice. But in this case, it threw a curveball at me, and now I have a bug, and I have to go back and fix that. And I'll probably do that on Tuesday after I get back to the States and have a proper way of fixing the bug. So, because I have this interface and I can easily set everything. Right now, I have it set for 1024 at 96,000 because one of the church that I used to work for, where I did the multi-track sampling, which I'll show you later today, requires that due to their audio equipment. It's a limitation. They can't downsample. They can't upsample. So, yeah, I see some confused faces. It's like, why would you want to do that? Are you recording bats? It's not like you need to record that ever. But apparently, their new desk, which is manufactured by Avid, just decided to go that way. So it's just what they went with. So we're gonna cancel out of this because we have no reason to reconfigure everything. I have patches running. You'll see that I have that buffer set here and the sample rate right here, and it's being mimicked in such a way. You see, I have my built-in audio here, which we're not going to utilize, and the my audio interface, a Behringer UMC 404 HD here, and then all of my MIDI via the MIDI bridge as provided by PipeWire is right here. And so you can see that, here, I'll even try this. Let me grab a little spare audio cable I have here. This is a very cheap, I think it cost me about $10, USB to XLR cable that Behringer actually makes. $10 US. You could probably get for around €7 for all I know. But if I plug this in, let's see if I have a spare USB-A. I do. It just shows up. I had to configure absolutely nothing to make that show up. And PipeWire is going to automatically do all the down and up sampling for me. This little thing is not capable of doing 96,000. I think the most it goes up to is 48. And PipeWire is going to automatically do all of the down and up sampling. And this version of PipeWire that was in Ubuntu Studio and Ubuntu 23.10 has the new bridging that allows the zero latency PipeWire or jack to ALSA bridging. So as far as the internal bridging is concerned, there is no latency. It's any latency that happens is between the device and the computer. So as far as the downsampling, I don't know what kind of latency happens there, but there has to be some. But that's pretty stinking cool that you could just plug in something. It's plug and play. You don't have to reconfigure jack or restart jack or anything. It's just right there ready to go. And so that's really handy. Like if you're in my industry and you're all of a sudden, oh, I need this. Let's plug it in. Let's get going. We need this. You have no idea how much that happens when you have a very needy person who needs to all of a sudden, I need this now. I need this computer plugged in. Okay, let's plug this audio interface in, get it going. Oh, this audio interface happens to support the 96,000. Let's get it plugged in. And then that way it doesn't need to downsample or upsample. It just plugs in. You have the zero latency right there. It's ready to go. Now, if we are in the buffer, if we still have a buffer and we are actually running Jack-aware applications, there will be some latency, obviously, because it still has to do that refresh constantly of the audio device. So just keep that in mind. And it's doing that every, in this case, 96,000 seconds, or 96,000 times a second. So in that case, we are still looking at a buffer of 1024 at 96,000 times a second. Now, that said, that means the higher the sample rate, the lower the latency. So just keep that in mind. Which is why I'm not too concerned about our latency at 1024 in what we're going to do today. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and take a look at some things we can do. Just using Ardour. And I tend to like to use the visual patch bay. We're going to go ahead and make a brand new blank session. And as you can see, we are in a recording session. I live in the mixer section, just because that's my, I'm a old school analog mixing professional. I have lived there since I was like a teenager. So that's what I did. And we'll just double click there. We'll add one audio track. Now this, as you can see, we'll go back to patches. And as you can see, it's already doing in Ardour a physical, it's connecting it to the physical monitor here. And it's already capturing my channel 1 into audio 1. That's a brilliant thing that Ardour does. It automatically just captures straight to your first channel and then routes the audio from that one to your master. You don't even have to ask it. And then that goes straight out to there. So if I grab I have a microphone here that I didn't get out because I was running low on time. And by the way, I swear by Behringer products when it comes to Linux, because they're just plug and play. They just work. It's not like any of the other products. So I'm not a shill for Behringer, but I am. So they don't pay me. But it's just been one of those things where they get a bad rap in the past, but at the same time, they are just plug and play for Linux. And I am just super proud of how far they've come. I'm going to put this up for now. And I'm going to go ahead and plug in this to channel 1 here on my interface, while trying not to be clumsy and drop anything. And lo and behold, I do have some input on that channel, or should. But there's one thing I forgot. Oh, feedback. Let's turn that bad boy down. There we go. There we go. Check that out. A little bit of feedback. Okay. As you can see, it's now coming into that channel. And my voice is bouncing in and out of that. So anyhow, we can go ahead and kill that. But that just gives us a bit of a demonstration of how easy it is just to add a live channel just by hitting that in button right there on Ardour. And I know for some of you, I'm preaching to the choir. You've already done this. But imagine that with several channels. So now you're in my world. Imagine that with 32 channels. So that there you have a live mixing environment. So what does that look like as a finished product? Well, when you're live mixing, you are not in a situation where you can really look at having a lot of perfection. It's not like in recording where you can go back and edit. You're not going to have that type of situation because you can't change a recording that's already been live streamed or that people have already heard in the audience. There will be mistakes that you will make. It's just inevitable. But if you have practiced enough with the team that's on stage or with the band, then you know what to do when the band does a certain thing. Say the electric guitar has a solo, you know to push that particular channel for the electric guitar. So we don't have a band here today. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to demonstrate what a finished recording of a live streamed performance looks like. And this is from the church that I currently work for. I'll just go ahead and close this session of Ardour. I'll show you this recording I did of the church I work for. This is North Shore Christian Church in Everett, Washington. And they are a pretty talented band, as far as I'm concerned. And this is the audio recording I did. I didn't do the video. But what this is going to demonstrate what a live recording sounds like that after it has been streamed. But you'll notice that I don't have the ability to go back and edit it. This is just one song. It's about 5 minutes long. I just want you to listen to it and think, okay, what would I have done differently? How many of you in here have done live recording mixing? Obviously. So just go ahead and have a listen to this. And let's see, that's Eastridge. So go ahead and listen to this and think to yourself what you would do differently. And I can already tell you what I would do differently because I recorded this.
We are here in surrender to your name, laying down every fear and every pain. By the cross, our sin you overcame. And when you arose, things would never be the same. Jesus, let your kingdom come. Father, let your will be done. Have your way in us. Lord, we say yes to you. Have your way in us. We offer our hearts to you. Refine our hearts. Set a fire deep in us to burn for you in a world that your love. Jesus, let your kingdom come. And Father, let your will be. Have your way in us. Lord, we say yes to you. Have your way in us. We offer our hearts to you. Have your way in us.
I'm going to stop it right there because I already wanted to point out what I would have done differently, especially with the vocals. What's going on there is we had a problem with with a directorial decision that was made that I really couldn't compensate for, and that's that there was a vocal doubling. The tenor on the left, that's Michael, he was told to double in the same octave as the lead singer. And the lead singer is the director in this case. And I think it was it didn't really need to happen that way, in my opinion, but it made it a very big struggle because he's a very strong operatic tenor. And so if I was told to keep him in the mix higher when I probably should have brought him down further. And also the soprano on the right, Danielle, probably could have come out further. Also, I was noticing just, at least in these speakers, that the piano, the keyboard was a little bit too hot. You know what I'm saying? Does that make sense? Robin, did you have a opinion on that? Yeah. 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 And so in live mixing, that's a huge struggle because and especially on that board is an Allen and Heath Advantis board that I was live mixing on. We weren't actually using any sort of a DAW. And that's just a choice that that particular church has made in terms of how we're doing our live production. By the way, still a Linux run board. Yes. So in that case, because in the live broadcast environment, which is what this was recorded off of, I'm using some 5-inch Yamahas studio speakers. So and they are about a foot away from me. And I literally touch them if I wanted to. And so in this case, it was, the reverb is very difficult to control on that board because then you have to go to the reverb, hit the routing on the touch screen, and then select the mix, and then individually control the reverb for that particular person. It's not the most intuitive board to control individual reverb on. So unfortunately, it was a very difficult situation. So it's one of those things where we have to set the effects and forget it. I was thinking, especially considering they like to switch lead singers up per song. So in the very next song, Danielle has the lead sing. And it's not like they can pass the mic because otherwise that screws up your EQ. So it's just a very tricky situation when it comes to that. So we tend to set a universal, this is how the reverb is per, like for every vocalist. And I probably could have dialed the global reverb back, but I would like to have more reverb on the background vocals personally. And maybe that's worth looking into. Maybe I could make a separate reverb input for the background vocalist. So maybe that's food for thought that I'll use, because I do have my own scene on that mixer. So I might do something like that. Thanks for the input. I appreciate it. So we could go ahead and continue with this. I don't know if there's too much further we can get with this, other than showing off the electric guitarist who is a student
today.
at Northwest University, and he is actually going into audio production himself. He's a senior this year, so he's one of the more talented electric guitarists for his age that I've ever run into. And what's funny is one of the churches I used to work for in North Idaho, his dad is a pastor there, and he's a good friend of mine. So it's kind of cool to see that come full circle. Anyhow, we'll go ahead and move on. Got a lot of time left too. Got about a whole hour still. So I have prepared some recordings. What we have here, the next one we'll go to is Eastridge Church, which is a church I used to work for. I talked to the production director there. That's his name is Keith Begar, and he and I were like really good friends to this day. And I asked for permission to go there so I can get some multi-track recordings to be able to better demonstrate. And I decided to do this next part in Mixbus because anything that you can do in Mixbus, you can do in Ardour. But I wanted to do it in Mixbus because I felt like I could better demonstrate that. And so we'll make sure we get Mixbus open. And we're going to skip. I got rid of some stuff just to save on disk space because it was just going to some old cached files and whatnot. So as you can see here, I've already got some compressors set up. These are the LSP compressors and gates. And there's a reason I did these. Because the compressor and gates that are in Mixbus, you cannot put into Ardour. So I wanted to make sure that we had that right off the bat. You can't do that. And the equalizer I use is the EQ10Q equalizers, the parametric ones. Rob and I would have used yours, but it came up and said I was unlicensed. So those are the X42 plugins if you ever want to use them, for those of you unfamiliar. And then, so the LSP ones, these all come with Ubuntu Studio in case you're wondering. So, but I've got everything all set up, pre-configured, because after I did the recordings, I went in and did each one. Now, what I need to do is make darn sure. Oh, see, look at this. I've got a whole bunch of stuff going on here. We don't need the inputs, so we're going to just disconnect the inputs. We also don't need that input. We do, however, need this guy into the Mackie control and the Mackie control out straight into my X-Touch internal stuff. And it didn't do a darn thing. Well, that's pleasant. Love it when that happens. So we'll go down back to this. This is when we get into troubleshooting. Oh, I got the wrong one. That's why. X-Touch internal. X-Touch internal. There it goes. Okay. So I'll show you this. One thing that I love about what Mixbus has done is that the Mackie control surface protocol now has support for color scribble strips. So that works perfectly on the X-Touch. I wish you guys could see this here. Maybe you guys, if you want to, maybe after during this workshop, you guys can come up and see this. But I'll show you guys if you guys would like. I'd be more than happy to show you. And it corresponds to all these scribble strips. Like I have the drums set up to be green, the bass is red, acoustic and electric guitars are yellow, keys and synths and loops are blue. Cyan is all of the vocals. And in this case, we have 5 front lead vocals. And then you can set these up in Ardour, but not quite this way. You have mix buses set up here, and I have also my effects buses. Uh, there, you can set those up as individual buses in Ardour, but it's set up a little bit differently. You'll see an example of that over here where I have set 2 buses up to be both the kick and the snare because I have 2 channels per for both the kick and the snare. The kick has an internal microphone and an external microphone, or a kick in and a kick out. And that's to get both the effect of the tap of the uh, of the pedal being hit, and then also outside of the drum, the whoomp of the drum being the effect of the low end. And then the top of the snare, the tap of the stick hitting the drum, and then the bottom of the snare, the actual snare sound. So once you have those 2 mixed, then you get you have the snare itself individually controlled under its own bus. And that's just my personal preference. Now, some people would like to mix that into a VCA. That is another way of doing it. I tried that and I ended up bottoming and topping out the actual faders that would move individually, and that just didn't seem to be the way to go, in my opinion. So I just decided to go ahead and make individual buses. And that was just my personal preference. Luckily, we all have our own personal preferences as artists, so we get to do it our own way. So that's kind of where I went with. So let's go ahead and listen to that kick in sound, and I can. What's nice about the solo is it'll let me mute here, and I can go ahead and play it back. We'll go ahead and go to the very beginning of the songs here, which is actually right here. So I can hit this, and I don't know if the drummer in this case was Josh. I don't know if he used this kick for a while. You know what? Let's make sure our monitor out is going to the right place, and it's not. Glad I booked this for an hour and a half, huh? All right. Not sure if that's running or not. Go to the editor view, see if I've even got anything anything in the kick drums. Yeah, he's not even hitting it yet. By the way, I do have accompanying video. I guess I could turn on the video monitor, but we're going to pretend this is kind of a sound check. There's that kick in, that slap of the kick in. And I've already got it gated. Otherwise, we would be able to hear just about everything else that's going on in the room. So he's hitting that, and he gets more often with it like later on. So we'll go ahead and just go there. We'll go ahead and add the kick out. We're getting a little bit of snare bleed there, and I couldn't prevent that. It's just nature of the beast. Now we'll go ahead and listen to the snare. A little bit of cymbal overhead happening now. Yeah, we're getting both right now. Here's just the top. Oh, and now he's off of it. Oh, there it is. You can hear it. And we are also reverbed on it. I like to put a reverb on the very top of the snare. And we'll go ahead and there's that snare sound that you're used to hearing. And there it is combined. So if we go ahead and combine kick and snare, well, let's go ahead and bring the toms in too. There it is. Get some of the overheads in. Turning on my own monitors so I can actually hear it right. Otherwise, I'm listening back there and it's like wrong. So that's the whole drum mix at this point. Okay, let's go ahead and now bring in the bass. Come on, bass. That's a groovy sounding bass. I barely had to do anything to it. Let's see. In terms of EQ, what did I do to it? Where did that bass? Yeah, there's the EQ. There's the EQ for the bass. Barely had to do anything to it. Just gave it a little bit of low end. Sloped it down. Just very gradually. A little bit of a bump here and there. Barely had to do a thing to it. It just I listened to that bass with the headphones and I was just like, dang, this is just, I don't know what strings and pickups they're using on that thing, but I was just like blown away. I don't even know the name of the bass player in this case. They're new since I was there, but so they're getting ready to ramp that down. We'll go ahead and start that song over. Anyhow, bring the guitars in now. Just going in and turning off some unnecessary solos. So the electric guitarist, I wasn't familiar with this person, but they are just top notch. I was just super impressed with them. Same with the acoustic guitarist. They weren't much to write home about, but I mean, they were holding their own. Now, in terms of electric guitarists, you'll notice I didn't gate them. I didn't compress them at all or EQ them. It came through clear. And this is why I ended up doing the acoustic guitar. But let's go ahead and solo that. So you just hear that. Had to notch out a few places just because it had some harsh parts, and then they need a little bit of boost in the lower mids. But other than that, it wasn't a bad sounding guitar. But I did struggle with it. I mean, that's pretty clearly not the EQ that one would want to see coming out of a guitar. So it added the spots where I needed it to fill in the overall sound spectrum in this case. And not only that, but that's kind of what they're doing in this case. But this electric guitar is freaking clean. I didn't have to do a thing to them. And pretty much the same with the keys. I did roll them off because I didn't want them colliding with the bass. I wanted the bass coming through stronger. So yeah, they are actually running. So what's cool about that particular church is they actually are going into a stereo amp, and that amp is mic'd. And so they have two microphones on that amp. It's going back to the board just clean, unequalized from that person's pedal board, basically. They, I believe, in the board itself, they're using a Sans amp in the board, but in term a Sans amp plugin, but in terms of from the guitar to the amp, it's whatever the guitarist brings. So, but yeah, it was just, I was super impressed by this electric guitarist. I was very, yeah, I was blown away by them. So, in that case, and then let's see, getting into the keys, this keyboardist was, actually know him. His name is Michael. He's a great guy. If I've got that happening, so because I'm very talented keyboardist, very good voicing, but you'll notice hardly any low end. That's mine. I did that intentionally, as you know, just because I didn't mind fighting with the bass. We had the bass. Now we've got the low end that we need. So with those two combined, we're pretty much set across the spectrum. We can add the acoustic. But this church likes to do a lot of other stuff. So we'll add the loops and synth. And now we have a lot more color. Now, of course, as soon as we add the drums back in. So and now we've got everything but vocals. So we've got everything but vocals, and but I wanted to the last thing before we add the vocals, I want to show you the effects. And what I've got is for the drums, I've got just so this is a great just reverb and a delay collection. It's called Dragonfly Reverb. It's open source, comes with Ubuntu Studio. It's found in the Debian repositories. So for the drums, I've got a plate reverb, completely wet. I'm using the Fat Tank preset. For the vocals, I'm using Dragonfly Hall set on a large hall with just the preset out of the box. For the I have a delay, and I am using the yeah, I'm just using the Ace delay that comes with Ardour and Mixbus. And in this case, I just have it set for whatever tempo there, and I forget how I set that, but anyways, it's synced to the tap delay in Ardour. I'll show you guys that in a minute. And by the way, what I'm about to show you is something that I told Robin I did that at last summit, and lo and behold, he and Paul delivered. And that happened a year ago. So, by the way, if you guys think nothing can come out of these summits, that is baloney. So, anyways, so By the way, I'm feeding that into a Dragonfly Hall again, and I've got that at a dry level 50/50 here. So it is going from a basically dry delay and then taking that, making it it's damping it up with some more Hall so that it gets it just makes it a little bit more of an echoey effect there. And I don't use that much. When I do use it, it's maybe right around here. So anyhow, so now we're going to go ahead and vocals. Yeah. Yeah, I don't like to delay anything else. So now we're going to hook up my X Touch just kind of to those buses or my X Touch Mini rather to those buses. But first I've got to actually, connect it. So where is it? X Touch Mini. We're gonna go MIDI. Oh, I didn't set it up. So this kind of stuff happens. So generic MIDI, that's all in preferences. So we'll just go ahead and make that X Touch Mini, outgoing to X Touch Mini. We can enable feedback. It really doesn't matter for the X Touch Mini. It's just a generic MIDI controller anyways. It works off of notes and CV. It really doesn't do much else. It's very, very cutesy like that. So, I'm gonna grab a mouse because I'm in the middle of my trackpad. It's in here. Turn my Bluetooth on. We're just gonna use even more power. I have 38% left. Woohoo! Let's see if we can make it. Anybody taking a pool for bets? Any wagers? Right? It'll be okay. So we're gonna sign. I have technically enough room for 16 on this, but we're only going to use 8. Going to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, exactly. So I'm going to. I remember it's Alt middle click. No, Control middle click. Yeah, Control middle click. Look at that. I can do that, and it's also moving on my X Touch, so it's pretty cool. And there's the bass. Okay. Guitars. Control middle click. Get up there. Okay. Control middle click and do a control middle click here. Like I said, I didn't have this set up, but I mean, we've got time, right? There's the delay, which, like I said, I don't use that very hot at all. The drums, I usually just put it up at right around 0 and leave it. I need a mute. Oh. Control middle click. Come on. Oh, that's right. Mixbus, this has to be done from the edit. Oh, shoot. How's it done in the buses? What's that? Oh, that's right. That's right. You're absolutely right. Okay, but anyways, I really don't need that anyways. So I don't need the mutes. What I really wanted to do was the tap tempo. So as you can see, you can set it to a manual tap, or I can grab it from the X-Touch Mini. Tap tempo, let's see, manual tap, X-Touch Mini. And it's constant. Apply. Now, does it not let me assign the actual button? Yeah, I'm trying to learn the tap tempo from the X-Touch Mini. Yeah. And it's not letting me do anything here. Yeah. Oh, just hit a note. X-Touch Mini. It's changing. It's changing. So the button I want is right, but afterwards it doesn't change. If I exit that window, it doesn't change. In the editor? Make a mark. There's a mark. Did we find a bug? Love this. Yeah, that's right. This is when good stuff happens, guys. I mean, if we yeah. Yeah, I can't get it to change at all outside of that window. Yeah, if I hit this, it can change, but apply. Yeah, that changed it. But outside of that window, it does nothing. Okay, so okay, that makes sense. Okay, so for live mixing, that would be actually really helpful if we could like have it be able if we could dynamically change it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Because we're not necessarily playing anything back or recording. See what I'm saying? Right, but we're not necessarily doing that. Yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yep. Anyhow, so I guess we'll go ahead and get into the vocals now then, and let's just go ahead and work with the tempo that we've got that's set on this. So we'll go ahead and go to the start here, and like I was saying, this is basically going to act. This first set, there's two sets here. We have two sets of two songs. And the first, they're both they're both the same songs. The first set is from one church service. This next set is from the following church service. We're going to treat it as if the first one's a sound check because we didn't record the sound check. Obviously, we're not going to. So we're going to treat it like we've already got most of that sound check out of the way because we got our drums, bass, everything. So let's listen to the vocals now. The vocals, if you listen to them individually, don't sound that great because unless you're listening to the melody, because the harmonies don't make sense without the melody. So you have to listen to them all at once. And that's just based on my experience. And I hate listening to harmonies without melody. So we'll just solo that and start listening to the vocals just without that. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute the effects just to start out. So luckily, I know the names of most of the vocalists because two of them, well, one of them was there when I was there, and the other one married one of my student volunteers from when I was there, and baffles my mind. So just means I'm getting old. All right, let's go ahead and get into that. Here, we're gonna zoom out. Go back to the mixer anyways. So that's the lead singer / worship director, Carrie, who we're going to be hearing.
Search me.
Who has an amazing alto voice, by the way.
Know my every thought. I surrender.
As far as EQs on her voice,
on the altar, laid
being an
all
alto,
down.
I gave her a
God, I'm
boost right around 172.
I'm ready now.
And
fresh fire, fire from the
a little bit of extra around 173, 3.72, because she needs it.
fresh oil.
We also have an alto at
Pour out your
the FLV1 position. I don't know her, but not the best vocalist.
We'll pour it out.
But Carrie is an amazing vocalist. We have an amazing tenor also on the FLV front lead vocal 2 position, whose name is Ben.
Lead me and guide me at each step.
And we have a soprano on front lead vocal 4. And then I think somebody just doubling the melody on front lead vocal 5. Not a great vocalist. But she's just filling.
Consume me now. Fresh fire.
Fire from the position 5.
Open the heavens right now.
There's our tenor.
Fresh oil.
And he's pretty good. So
Oil of your praise.
we're gonna make him stand out a little bit more.
Your breath.
Same with our soprano, who's doing a great job on the harmonization.
Fresh fire.
All together.
From the heavens. Open the heavens right now.
But once they combine it all with
Fresh oil. And oil of your presence. Pour out your presence right now. Pour it out.
and let's bring in the effects too.
Today's away, yesterday's fine.
Oh, wrong button. One thing I wanted to say is with live mixing in any environment, the vocals always have to win, especially the lead vocals. You will have things in the same frequency that will be battling with those vocals. The vocals always have to win. That's your job. You have to make those vocals win. So when you are, and that's basically, that's universally true of any band. You might have a situation where you have a really riffing electric guitarist playing and it's just the same frequencies as the vocals, you have to let the vocals win. That means everything from your equalization to your amplitude, meaning bring up the faders, fix the electric guitar, maybe take them down at around 1K to 2K, and let the vocals win. The vocals, the enunciation, everything has to come out. Unless, here's my caveat, unless artistically that's the way you want it. Unless artistically that's the way the band wants it. There are that's the one rare exception. So anyways, getting back to it. So, but you could probably hear what was happening right there is my electric guitar was hammering at the vocals, and that's where I wanted to stop and say, what's going on? So that's what I'm going to fix right now is I'm going to bring down the electric guitar, and that's what I was doing in my MIDI controller just now, but let's get rid of the equalizer there. But you can see I just brought him down about 5 dB.
Come on, if you need more of it, declare it. I'm not satisfied. Yesterday's
It's on air talk.
it's my heart. Pour it out again. I'm not satisfied. Yesterday's was fine. It's my heart. Pour it out again. Satisfied. Yesterday's fine. It's my heart. Pour it out again. I'm not satisfied with yesterday's glory. Yesterday's fine. Pour it out again. I'm not satisfied. Yesterday's glory. Yesterday's fine. It's fine.
Okay, I was just making some adjustments to like the electric guitars, bringing him down a little bit further because he's really fighting with that edgy around there.
Pour it out again. Yesterday's glory. Yesterday's fine. It's fine. Pour it out. Pour it out on us forever. All we need to know.
Okay, we're at basically the end of the song, and right here we're gonna hit a transition. We're gonna be switching lead vocalists. We're gonna be going from Carrie to Ben. Ben's gonna be taking the next song. Also, our electric guitarist is going to be switching from kind of a sixth vocalist to more of a traditional electric guitarist where he's in the background, except for a solo part. So it's going to be a very interesting part here.
Oil of your presence. Pour out your presence right now.
See what I did right there with the delay? Brought it up ever so slightly right there. And I like to do that every now and then. Like, especially when they have like these really punchy parts, like, thank you. And all of a sudden I'll just punch it and make it really echo for a little bit. And it makes it really flourish right there. And that's just something I really like to do to make it really energize it. So here's what I was talking about, that transition. Got to take Carrie down and put Ben up. He's in the 2 position. So you see what I did there? There's Ben, there's Carrie.
Now, giving everything, 'cause You are everything. Our hearts are on fire. And I'm praising holy. And I'm the King of glory. We are saved. We open our hearts and we open our hearts and we
Taking the keys and the synth down just a little bit, because otherwise they're setting out a little bit too much. The loops are a little stronger on this song than they were on the last song. I only know that because I know I'm listening. Did you hear that with the electric guitar? I'll do it again. So I gave a 5 dB bump right there, just for that little like MIDI. So I like to ride the electric guitar during this song. So I might have one finger on the electric guitar while writing the vocals on another. This isn't big enough to do that, so I can't. All right, here's that guitar solo. Wait, it's the bridge. I caught myself. I've made mistakes like that in the past where I've done a mixing change in the wrong part of the song, and it's messed me up every time. You know what? This is for experience and listening if the band comes in here. Here's the guitar solo. Oh, Brent, see, I did it again. Forgot they did the bridge twice, so. Let the vocals take it back to me. Just take it down to the butt. A little while. Bring up the vocal bus here. Take back down the electric, otherwise it's going to blow everybody out of the water. So I don't want to do that. Overall, the drum mix is sounding solid. He's very good at controlling his own dynamic. The bass, and notice I don't touch the bass very much. He's setting the foundation for everything.
We open our hearts and we wait for you.
There are some times where I do have to touch the bass because the bass is fluctuating their volume way too much and playing way too dynamically, and that's my Achilles heel. Because then I have to rely on somebody else to set the foundation, and that goes back to the key. So then the key is where I'm having to set it and forget it and have everybody revolve around that. So anyways, we just came to the end of that set. But now we're at the actual show. So we can go ahead, if we want to, we can jump into the next
part, but we only have 15 minutes left. So rather than do that, I would want to see if anybody has any questions or if anybody wants to talk about that, and we can go ahead and do that now. Philippe.
I'm just wondering one case. I mean, it's unrelated to the live stream, but you said you have a sound card that is in a very high sample rate, also connected to a sample card which is normal 48 kilohertz. So what happens if you run the session at, I don't know, if you connect one sound card and you unplug it and it try to play it to the other one? Do you get any breakage out of this or not? Really?
Oh, you mean you back to the PipeWire thing?
Yeah, back to PipeWire thing, where you're using the sound card in a very high sample rate, but dynamically changed to something that runs on a completely different sample rate.
So it's going to create the overruns or underruns, definitely. There's no way around that. I haven't actually tried that, but I actually have heard. I mean, my system at home, I've done that with, and it the transition happens, and it just somehow fixes it. But there is a little bit of latency that happens. So it's just nature of the beast. It somehow compensates. I don't know how. There's some sort of magic juju in the translation in the PipeWire also that happens.
Fair enough. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know what Wim and his team are doing, but they're doing an amazing job. Any other questions? But by the way, this whole thing was done, you guys heard it, done using PipeWire. Didn't even have to use jack proper. Oh, go ahead. You got the mic, dude.
Is this the upcoming Ubuntu or the current Ubuntu Studio?
No, this is 2310.
So the one that is already out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Of course, Mixbus is paid for a program, but everything I just showed you can do with hard.
So
8.1 currently.
Yeah, you didn't install any special PPAs or anything like that?
Nothing. Nothing special. Oh, yeah. Yeah, if you guys want to see, just I don't know how much time do we have between now and the next workshop. What's that? Oh, we have lunch after this. So if you guys want to check it out real quick afterwards, we can do that. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Anybody learn anything? Okay, cool. All right.